Listen, this is a quote from Luis Enrique in a current documentary talking to Mbappe after that first leg loss to Barcelona for PSG last season. He said, "I read that you liked Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan defended like a son of a female dog. You're a phenomenon without a doubt, but that doesn't matter to me. A true leader is when you can't help more with the goals. You help us in everything defensively. The day that you don't attack, you have to be the best player in history defending. That is a leader. That is Michael Jordan." It really is something to see when you actually see the video of Luis Enrique saying that to Kylian Mbappe. And here is Julien Laurens to join us now. Your worlds are colliding, Jules. We've got PSG, Mbappe and basketball all on one topic here for you. Your reaction to this?
I have to say, I love the clip. I love that Luis Enrique had a discussion at a moment of the season where everybody knew Mbappe was leaving, only a few weeks later. And, I mean, maybe he should have tried the chat earlier in his time in Paris with Mbappe, because we know that Mbappe doesn't really defend much. That's not what he does, sorry. But I like the fact that Luis Enrique tried. At least he tried. He tried to inspire him a little bit. He tried to say, look, if Michael Jordan did it, you can do it as well. You know, if you want to be the best, if you want to be one of the greatest, you'll have to do that part of the game too. So that was before the second leg. I was at the second leg. I can't remember really Kylian defending much. So I don't think, unfortunately, that the pep talk about Michael Jordan, hey, let's be like MJ, actually worked.
Let's talk about this dealing with superstars angle that we see here, because it really is very passionate. It's something that we wouldn't usually be privy to as well, because it's come from a documentary here, Stevie. When it is a player the level of Mbappe, I mean, how far can you go in asking for that from them?
Well, I think the fact that you've got to do that tells you that this guy probably isn't going to listen to a word you're saying. And I think what we've seen since then is that guy, Mbappe, wasn't listening to a word he was saying. I told you a story a long time ago about Kenny Dalglish at Liverpool, how everybody would die for him. But the reason they would all die for him is because he would have died for you. And the difference between being a great player and being an all-time great is when you'll die for the... See all the guys around you that are running the legs off and doing all the donkey work so that you can get the ball in the right place to put it in the net? That's the difference between an all-time great. And the way Mbappe's going, he will be remembered as a great player, but he's never going to be an all-time great. Certainly not with his teammates. Because the one group of people that understand are the players that are on the field with you. And they know when you're either going to die for them or not. And I bet you there's not one of them thinks he's going to die for them.
What was that from you, Jan?
No, it's a shout. That's Mbappe, who scored 3 goals in a World Cup final, all-time greats and all that kind of thing. But I do so understand what Stevie is saying. But there was no doubt that who was in charge. That was the manager. And look at Liverpool, Stevie, when you had the boot room and that they just came out of the boot room being Shankly, Paisley, Fagan, Ronnie Moore, I know all of them, but they still had that position no matter who the superstars were in the team. And I'm not talking about Dalglish because he was a superstar on and off the pitch.
Are you torn on this?
Listen, I'm with Stevie on this. I think to be remembered as one of the all-time great players, you have to have at least a certain level of humility for your teammates. And I think you see that whether we're talking Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the kind of famous scenes from Messi and his time. And okay, don't get me wrong, I know his time wasn't great at PSG, but they form a wall and Lionel Messi is the draft dodger or whatever they call it, lying down behind the wall. This is arguably the best player to have ever played the game. He's doing that as a job. And while, okay, Lionel Messi is to use Jules' term, doesn't defend an awful lot either. But he shows that he's able to at least give of himself where he can, when he can, knowing full well his abilities. This is a ball that he gave away. So never mind just defending, never mind dropping into your own half or tracking a wing or whatever it may be. You made a poor pass. Take some responsibility. And to Stevie's point, that is the kind of thing that every single player realizes, every single player recognizes. And which is why and with Stevie, as of right now, unless at the very least he's able to offer some level of humility to his teammates, he will not be remembered in the same vein as a Ronaldo, as a Messi, as in all the other greats that came before him.
Players never forget things like that. You know, the fact, if he had made an attempt to run back, that would have been erased from the memory of every player on the field. But the fact that he didn't, you never lose that. It's always stored away. It's always stored away in the back of your mind.
So as big as a loss that was for Real Madrid, it was obviously as big a win for Lille. But what's been the reaction to Mbappe's performance in France to that game, Jules?
He didn't play enough, really. He really wanted to take part. He's not fit. He hasn't been called up by France. I don't know what's going to happen at the weekend. I wouldn't be surprised if he's either on the bench or rested by Carlo. But that game was special for him because it was the first game back in France with the Real Madrid shirt. His brother Ethan, his younger brother, was supposed to be there. He got injured just before the game, so he missed that as well. But I think he really wanted to try to make it. But he didn't play enough for us to see. I mean, Shaka just showed that clip about him losing the ball. He didn't do really much after he came on anyway, so there was not much to talk about, really. It was all about Lille and all about what they did on Wednesday night. The collective strength and how they basically cancelled out this Real Madrid incredible attack and incredible team, really, how they made it look very average at times, and yet it was very flat from Real Madrid, and it's a lot on their fault and their responsibility. But I thought Lille had one of those great nights, that you remember forever, probably the greatest result they've ever had in an individual game, not over a season, for example, when they win the league or something like that. But this is probably the greatest night of their history, so amazing for them. They had a 17-year-old, Ayoub Bouhaddi, it was his birthday yesterday. He was 17 yesterday, 17. And he played like a boss in that midfield against Valverde and Tchouaméni and Bellingham and Camavinga. So there was a lot to celebrate for Lille last night, and really Mbappe came in at the second plan.
OK, so that was very nice. It was his first Champions League start as well, right, Jules? Really nice to see 17-year-old birthday playing Champions League and beating Real Madrid. But if Madrid were beaten, and it wasn't a great result for them against Lille, it was an even worse result for Atleti, Jules. 4-0, 4 goals put past them by Benfica. Was that a surprise for you?
3 of them straight away at half-time, taking off Koke and Griezmann, big players, De Paul, and yet no reaction from the players, just nothing at all. They could have conceded 6 and lost 6-0 easily. So away from home in the Champions League, it's not the first time. They haven't been good at all in the last few years. But even knowing that was a bad performance.
Yeah, their first loss of the season, Jules, although they're not been totally convincing this season so far. Is Atleti good?
But personally, I don't think they are. I mean, I still think he's looking for the right formula, back 4, back 5, who up front. I mean, I think he's changed the front line, whether it's a 2 or whether it's a 3, so many times already. This season we had Griezmann, Solo, Alvarez, Griezmann, Alvarez, Griezmann, Correa, Solo, Correa, Alvarez. Then 3 of them, then back to 2 of them. Then I change everything at half-time. Then how do you want even them to start building any sort of understanding and partnership if you change every 45 minutes who plays up front? And probably same for the midfielders and the wide players. It can't be easy to play in a team where your manager changes every 5 minutes who's playing up front in front of you. They make different runs, they have different profiles, some come short, some playing behind, all of that. But if you keep changing and tinkering, nobody's improving. Not your forwards who don't score enough and don't do enough, not the people behind them because they just can't find them because they change all the time. I think it's an absolute shambles so far. And yeah, it's not too bad because they still have good individual talent, so they're going to win matches. That's not a problem. But collectively, I think he's really, really struggling, Simone.
All right, lovely stuff. Thanks so much, Jules. Thanks for being with us.